Are we too similar to have a podcast together?
If we are, how would we know?
That's a good point. That'd be
What
the
if
first
everybody's like,
entry.
yes? Yes, you guys are way too similar. You should do the podcast with Darnell from Vagitublium.
That was an excellent reference to Hello Internet. I appreciate that. Okay, let's get back to the actual question though. Are we too similar to have a podcast? Because a lot of people that do podcasts together, they're two very different people. A lot of people would look at us and say that we're very similar, but I don't know. I kind of have, I'm an engineer. I have an empirical way to work through this.
Sign me up.
Okay, so I have 3 quizzes that I'm going to send to you here that we're going to take so that we can take some actual empirical data on the similarities in our personalities.
You would, because just intuiting that wouldn't count as an answer in your mind.
It does
okay.
not. So,
full disclosure, I do not know anything about these going into them. I was not briefed.
True. Okay, so here, I'm actually sending them to you in the Hangouts right now. Okay, are you getting them on the Hangouts?
Got it. 3 links.
Okay, got it. All right, so go ahead and take those. So let's hang up the phone here and let's take these quizzes and then meet you back in a few.
Here we go.
All right, there we go.
Hello, this is Matt.
Hey, Matt. How'd you do?
I was expecting your call.
I know you were. Did you do all 3?
I did, and I did not cheat.
I didn't cheat either. I know you're smart enough to cheat because you do personality tests often, right? On other people?
From time to time.
Okay, so you didn't cheat. I didn't cheat. So let's just go through them. So number 1, the Pirates versus Ninjas quiz. Which one are you?
I'm a ninja.
I am a pirate. Are you really a ninja?
See, we're totally different. We're totally different. This is a great podcast.
Yeah, that's... You just killed me. I can't call... Okay. I was a little upset that there was no additional information on the quiz
Nothing.
results. It just says, are you a pirate or a ninja? So I'm a smelly
Well, I think
pirate.
the whole thing was designed to get you to sign up for some connect you to a college we think you'll like kind of
There was like an
service.
advertisement at the bottom of one of them on mine that was a fake question. Did you click the ad?
I did not. I didn't fall for it.
I totally
Okay, that
did.
says more about our personalities right there than the
I think
result.
it did. I totally fell for it. Okay, would you like to explain the second quiz?
Yeah, the second quiz was fascinating, and it's one like as soon as I started on this, I was like, I see what you're doing. This is the how do you talk and what words do you use quiz, and there were all kinds of terms in here that I have never heard of to describe common things. And I will tell you in advance that what is interesting about my map at the end that shows what part of the country my vernacular is most associated with is
Did it peg you to Wyoming?
the glowing red hotspots that match with me most are all the places I've lived. Get this. There's a tiny little glowing red hotspot for me in the Front Range of Colorado. Like it's tiny, like 1 county big. Fort Collins, Denver-ish.
Really?
And that is a maximum match for me. That's part of where I grew up and did adulthood. I went to school in Chicago. That is a glowing red match for me. When I was really little,
No
I lived
way.
in eastern Iowa. Glowing red match. And all of Wyoming is a big red match for me. And Nebraska as well,
serious?
where I've also lived. I mean, this thing is absolutely precise.
Dialed. Go ahead and screen capture that. Or it has a whole thing where you can tweet it.
I
Will you tweet it?
right now.
I'm going to tweet this so hard right now. My map, believe it or not, I know this, you're going to find this strange, but it says that I'm from Alabama. I know that's, you didn't see that coming, did you?
Okay, what would you say? Once every couple weeks, you say something that I have to stop you and ask about?
Maybe. But here's an interesting thing, though. So, I've got a deep red swath, down to the Mississippi Delta area in Jackson, Mississippi, which I actually lived in Jackson for a while. I've got Birmingham, which I'm living currently north of Birmingham, but it's got Birmingham as the hottest spot, and then Jackson, Mississippi, and then, believe it or not, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is really, really weird to me. It makes me wonder if this has some kind of witchcraft involved, because I used to go to Baton Rouge in the summers.
That's trippy.
That's trippy because I had no idea. Yeah, anyway, that was weird.
So we are a not match. We're so different, we should do a podcast.
We
the
should.
friction between our personalities would be interesting to potential listeners.
I think it would. People could relate to one or the other and they'd always pick a side.
But the thing is, you do know this about me. The only place where I would say it didn't work out super well was Vegas. The only place on this map that is not glowing red is Vegas.
Oh, so you've got a red spot in Alabama?
No. I mean, the only place on this map where I've lived
I know, I'm just being
that isn't glowing red. That's wild, man.
That is, I'm impressed.
That
This is
tells
New
me
York
is-
Times, right?
No, the next
Yeah,
one.
it says
yeah,
New
it
York
is New York Times. Yeah, you're right.
I'm impressed.
What it tells me is I just talked wrong. I didn't understand anybody there. I screwed the whole thing up. I'm a great big idiot. What is your unmatch? What's your least like you place?
The spot, this is kind of bizarre. The spot where my least match is right where my wife's family's from, but she has her papers. She was born in Alabama, which leads me to the next quiz. The third quiz is this is a Myers-Briggs, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Pure Myers-Briggs. Okay, so what is your personality type?
I've never got these results before, and this is about the 10th time I've taken it, so I don't know what kind of mood I'm in here, but it has me as the ENTP, excuse me, which is the debater.
I am the campaigner, which is ENFP. So to be clear, that's extroverted, not introverted. Intuitive, not observant, which I found kind of interesting. 62% intuitive, 38% observant. Nature, I was half and half, thinking and feeling. I'm like right down the middle, but it leaned more F for feeling. So tactics, judging versus prospecting, I'm more of the prospector. And identity, I'm more assertive, apparently. Are you assertive?
Oh, yes. What is prospecting?
I have no idea what that means.
No, that's the only one that threw me off. The rest I had a context for. That one confused me.
On tactics, it says the trait reflects our approach to work, planning, or decision making. Apparently, I prospect more.
Apparently, I do too.
Okay. Yeah.
I do a thing that I don't know what it is.
Yeah. that's
me.
important. That's good.
Crotchety old prospector. Banging pots and pans around.
Okay, so scroll down, ENFP. So this is mine. What personalities are you like? I'm like Robert Downey Jr., Will Smith, Robin Williams, Drew Barrymore, Russell Brand, Quentin Tarantino, Meg Ryan, whatever. There's a lot of names here.
You know what's funny is I knew that everybody on that list was going to be likable and desirable in some way. Because there's no way they were going to make this list and be like, oh, you're like one of those mass shooters. Like Pol Pot. Pol Pot, he was an ENFP, wasn't he? On my list is my favorite musical artist of all time since childhood. Who do you think it is?
Madonna.
Seriously? Hey, do we even know each other? It's good we're doing this. Really?
No, not really.
Alfred Weird Al Yankovic is my close match. On the ENTP. Yep. And then this one surprised me because I would think you would get this one. Number 2 is Adam Savage.
Yeah, he's good.
He seems a lot more Destin-like.
He does. I've met him a couple. He's nice. Okay, so personality types. So sometimes you do counseling with people, right?
Quite a bit.
Why do you give these personality quizzes to people? Just cutting to the quick here. The reason I like talking to you is because I feel like you're more socially intelligent than I am. And so I've done these personality quizzes before, and I've come up as an ENTJ, where I'm more judging than prospecting, because I don't think these tests are the same every single time. But the question is, what is the value of doing these tests?
Interestingly, I usually come up ENTJ as well, and occasionally INTJ. So that doesn't bode well for the podcast. Probably a lot of people are bailing on us right now because of how similar we are.
I would think so. Yeah, they were cool with the Pirates Ninjas thing, but now they're just out.
Carbon copies. I actually avoid giving these tests. It's something I did when I was new at this, and I started to feel like it pinned people in too much, and I started feeling like I was getting results that were based on however they were feeling about the crisis they were there to talk to me about. I felt like their answers were skewing toward how that situation made them feel and not as much in general, and I found I was getting different results at different moments in their lives, and so I backed off it, and now we talk more about story with the way that I counsel. What are the big stories that are in your head? What are the things that drive you and motivate you? What character are you playing? I've had better luck getting to the heart of things that way.
Is it because people take this test and they find out that there's supposedly a certain person on the scale and they start trying to act like that person?
Maybe sometimes.
Or the other person sitting there and counseling with them is using this stuff against them, or what's the deal?
I think people have tendencies, but I think we're more fluid than 4 letters.
Okay.
It just moves around too much. For example, a bunch of difficult counseling will make me feel a little bit worn out socially. And when I'm feeling that, I go from being right on the line between an E or an I, the extrovert or introvert,
you move over to
skewing really hard one way or the other, depending on how right I think I was in that counseling and how irritated I am. So if I really think I was super right.
By right, you mean introverted, right?
Yeah. No, if I think I was right, I'll skew extrovert when I take a test like this, because I'm like, well, you know, I know what I'm doing and I feel more confident socially and like I have a case that needs to be made. If I feel like I'm second guessing myself, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing here, I'll tend to skew during that time to being more introspective and reflective. So if I know that these things can move all over the map with me, and I've done this a billion times, then, you know, I don't feel like I'm getting the most accurate read if I put this thing in front of somebody who I'm talking to.
Got it. So given that information and your history with personality tests and stuff like that, getting back to the original question, should we do the podcast? I mean, this is something we've been talking about for a while. Should we actually do it, and why?
I'm prepared to can it now. I feel like after these 3 tests, I mean, it seemed really smart until the pirate ninja disparity.
Yeah, I think you're right. No, I mean, the real reason I want to do this is because you are different than me on your educational background. You're more educated than I am, but in different areas. Like, I'm hard sciences dude, right? So mechanical engineer, aerospace engineer. You are not. And
I have a semester of biology from my freshman year of college.
That's more biology than I have from college, actually. I did not take biology in college. I married into
Modesty
biology.
attempt failed.
My wife is really good at biology, but I'm not. So I don't know. I like the fact that you're very educated in terms of history and the social sciences and social interaction. And I personally, I feel like I'm a better person having talked to you. This is getting weird, but
yeah, I feel uncomfortable.
You feel strange, but that's why I reached out to you to begin with.
Everybody's feeling it.
Do you remember why I reached out to you in the first place?
I'm not sure I remember what you said.
I said, I don't know. I saw your stuff on YouTube and I wanted to work with you.
I didn't know who you were when you called. I had no idea.
And I like that.
You're some guy.
Is that
no, actually, you know what's funny? No, it wasn't a phone call. It was a Twitter exchange.
Oh, I hit you on the tweet hole.
Yes. Yep, that's how I was going to say it. You got the crappy automated message from me when you followed me. Hey, I'm Matt. Thanks for following me on Twitter. Hope you're having a great day. Look me up whenever. Bye. Something like that.
You set up a bot on Twitter?
Oh, yeah. I have a permabot all the time.
How do you do that?
I
don't want
for
it.
Something.
Do you?
Oh
really?
yeah, it's cold and heartless. People hate it. No, I've got some good friends out of the deal.
Really?
Well, I mean, yeah. So then you replied with something like, I don't know, something.
I'm going to your Twitter right now.
And I didn't answer for a long time because I was on vacation. I was playing tennis, and then you were like, "This is the part where you talk." And I was like, "Oh crap! I don't know who this guy is with the brain logo, but I should reply because he thinks I'm a jerk now."
I did say that, and should I regret that?
No, that was fun. That was honest.
Yeah.
So there's the romantic story of how we became friends. Man, not a lot of stories like that floating around from people who became friends in 1980.
No, there's not. The internet changed things.
So this is the clumsy time in the show when we talk to you about our sponsor. The sponsor for today's episode of No Dumb Questions is no one, because we don't have one yet. But you could be our sponsor. You can do that by going to Patreon. There's some links in the show notes or something, and becoming a patron of our program, which will make it feel like you're patronizing us, but it's good in this set of circumstances.
I actually have something that happened when I was getting the microphone set up. And this is like a serious thing that I need to figure out in my life, and it pertains to you. So I got an email, no joke, 1 hour ago when we were setting our microphones up that says, this is from the White House Office of Digital Strategy.
I know those people.
Yeah, you went with me. So, background, I interviewed the President Obama, earlier this year. In order to do that interview, because we like to rationalize through things, you and I had several windshield time conversations trying to figure out, if you're going to interview the President, what to do. And so you heavily influenced that.
Those went well beyond windshield time.
They really did. Yeah, we spent hours talking about that. And then, it went so well because of the things that we figured out together. You were heavily influencing me. The goal was to unify people that weren't really unified. At that point in time, the rhetoric was awful. So,
yeah, and that's the matrix you used for what questions you were going to ask and what suggestions, including some of mine, you ignored.
Yeah, I think we got there, though. I think we
did too.
I think it went well.
And by we, I mean I think you crushed it.
Whatever. But after the fact, they asked me to come back to the White House to discuss other options. And so I asked you to go with me, and you did.
Now, it sounds better to say they asked you to come back, but there was a degree of self-invite to that, wasn't there?
There actually was. Well,
they
said
now.
Well, they did say, we want to do something else with you at the White House. And I was in town for something else, and I called them and said, hey, I'm in town. Can I come by the White House? And that was it was the coolest phone call I've ever made in my life. Okay, so we did that. And the goal of that conversation was to try to figure out how to make something that we could help bring the nation together with. And our proposal was to make a video with all of the past presidents that were still alive and asking them what it's like to be the president. Just so
And the
people had
current president.
Exactly, and the current president. Just to have an unbiased look at what it takes to be president. So, long story short, I'm going to the White House this week. I told you this, right? And so the purpose of the trip this week is they're having some type of summit. I don't really understand what the summit is for. The impression I get is that they're bringing in what they're calling social media influencers to talk about issues. That's about all I know. But if you're invited, you don't say no, in my opinion. If you're invited to the White House,
you don't say no even if you're not invited.
What do you?
Hey, can I come over?
So here's the email I got. So I'm going this Wednesday to the White House to listen, basically. I'm not politically affiliated with any, organization, any party or anything. I just, whatever. I don't really know where I'm at here. But this email I just got, you're invited, President Obama's farewell address. I'm not going to read all of it because I want to not put out in public what's being said. But long story short, earlier today we announced that President Obama will be giving his farewell address on the evening of January 10th in Chicago. This will be his final speech as president. Blah, blah, blah. Will you come to this event?
Wait, so they're inviting you to Chicago?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
You gonna go?
I mean, how do you not go?
That's where the whole thing started.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's a moment in history, right? No matter what my political beliefs are, you got to go see that, right?
When Brock Osweiler skipped it this year after the Broncos won the Super Bowl, because they were going right after we were there, so what the heck are you thinking, man? It's like the coolest thing ever, Brock Osweiler. Come on. He didn't go. He skipped the White House. He's a quarterback for the Broncos. You tracking with me? Football?
I was not, thank you.
Seriously?
I just know college football. I don't know NFL.
That's a way we're different. We're different. We should do a podcast.
So I go. I do go.
What do they want from you? What do you do?
I have no idea.
Do you window dressing? Do you get to wear the blue hat?
I don't know, man. To what extent does it feel like political alignment? Because I have no desire to align myself politically with any person, right? Because I like to be the smarter everyday guy, the unbiased guy that just explores the world looking at the facts, right?
I'm also a big fan of not being affiliated with the parties. Yeah, I get that. We talk about this.
You are very much a libertarian. Don't act like you're not. You're just saying you're not affiliated with the parties because there's not a significant libertarian party. Was that hurtful?
Oh, yeah. Ain't that the truth? And, okay, see, now we're getting into it. Generally speaking, I think people who want that kind of power are not the kind of people I want to give that kind of power. So I'm just generally not a huge fan of political parties. I do like government. I'm not an anarchist. I think government is a good thing. I just like government that's run not by two political parties.
The cool thing is I've been a civil servant under several presidential terms. George W. Bush, under Barack Obama, and, soon to be the Trump presidency. And so the cool thing about what I get to do, I work with the military, is I don't care who that guy is, but I think the general trend of American politics and American government is towards that which is good. Worldwide, I'm talking. But
how do you mean?
We have power and might in the world, and we choose to use it for good things. I don't care what you think. That's what I think. Do you disagree?
We should do a podcast. This is a point on which we sometimes disagree.
Are you fabricating this disagreement here? Or?
I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I think, like almost everything, it's complex and not as simple as good or bad.
I agree with you there, of course.
I think there's stuff that I'm very proud of that we do, that I think advance the idea of human dignity and human liberty, and I think there are things we've done that I can't say the same for. So I will say I sometimes agree with you.
Would you ever do what I do? Would you ever work for the government?
That would be very difficult for me personality-wise.
Really?
It just isn't a fit for me mentality-wise. It's not even about how much I agree or disagree at any given time. Like, generally speaking, I'm just a huge fan of live and let live, and I mean it. Like, people I really disagree with, I want them to have total protection under the law, and I want them to be treated really dang well. And it just seems like in a system where people are grubby for power, it's hard to do that for everybody at once. You can do it for one group of people at a time, but then the other group of people get their turn to be treated well, and I don't like that system. I like the idea of treating everybody well all the time.
Your utopia cannot exist, and you know that.
It can exist. You just got to back off each other a little bit. Get to a place where we can accept that people are into different stuff, they see the world different ways, they believe different things, and that none of those things can be subjected to voting. This is none of my business. I think that's possible. I think we've been there before.
What do you mean the things can't be subjected to voting?
We knew this was going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
Not the political thing, just the wandering off into the woods thing. All right, I'm going to go into the woods and I'm going to come right back out.
Okay.
Your question, it was real smart, and you asked it well. And it was, once again, we're doomed. Oh, yeah. Stuff that shouldn't be votable. I just mean there's a bunch of stuff that we think we should get to vote about that I just don't even think should be something you can even vote on.
Oh, you just don't like laws.
See, I'm actually a fan of laws when they protect things like person and property and basic human rights, things like that. I'm just not for laws where, like, I get to tell you who you can make deals with, or where I get to control what you think or what you say. I would like to just let people say awful things, even if I hate them and think they're really dumb things to say. I think they ought to be able to say it. I don't like laws that restrict things like that.
Even if it's on your YouTube channel and they're talking about your family? Because that's something I deal with.
Yeah, I think it's different if you sense that there's some kind of threat. But no, I think people should be able to say words about my family, just not like threat words about my family.
Okay.
That's generally where the line has been drawn historically in the West. Well, I should say the liberal West.
To be clear, that's like a Western Thoughts, one of your degrees, right?
Yeah, history of thought, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I'm a big fan of the concept of what I call political grace. Treating people you disagree with really, really well, even as you very much disagree with them on stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Which is why I feel like I should go to Chicago.
And there you go. Wonderful segue.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, I think you should. It's why I think you were right to handle the interview with the president last year the way you did. You're just dang nice to him. And I know you disagree with him on some stuff, and I know you agree with him on some stuff. But you couldn't tell from the interview where those points of agreement or disagreement were, because the interview wasn't about you or you getting a platform to make your points like I just did. It was about asking good questions of the most powerful man in the world. Demonstrating, well, political grace, some charity, some decency in a time when we're not very good at that anymore.
Okay.
Does that make you feel weird? Is that too much complimenting?
Well, it makes it sound like we just threw him softballs in the interview.
I thought what you did that really worked in the interview was that you went for a human connection with another gentleman and another dad, instead of leapfrogging the human to get right into the fight about ideas.
Right.
And to make that connection in a meaningful way in a very short period of time, you can't do the softball thing because that's patronizing and a waste of time. So you didn't do that. You did a lot better job than I would have.
I don't agree with that, but listening was certainly key, and I did learn that from his audiobooks. But you did help me formulate the questions, which...
You're being nice.
Well, did you?
Yeah, I was there. I showed up.
Yeah, you helped me formulate the questions. Okay, last line on this email for the invite. If you're up for it, we can follow up with more details about some of the things we have lined up.
Why do you think they want you to come?
I have no idea, Matt. I really don't. I do think that the questions we asked, I think the president actually thought about them after the interview at some point.
I know you can't talk about what was said after the interview, but what you relayed to me that he said to you and the two other YouTubers who were there indicates that he took the three of you seriously. And what you relayed to me sure sounded like he was not campaigning or presidenting. It sounded like a guy who was being very reflective and very honest about how he saw some important stuff.
I agree, yeah. I just don't know why they want me to go to Chicago. I don't.
You got offered free office space for an undisclosed period of time near your hometown. This is like like some kind of school or mall or something that got bought and is being refurbed into a cool, swanky office place?
Yeah, some dude bought a school from the city. He's turned it into, I mean, there's like a brewery, there's a bunch of office space and whatever, and he asked me if I wanted an office there.
And because you're thinking one step ahead and because you're good and honest, you straight up ask him, hey, what's the game plan with offering me free office space? You don't make a lot of money if you offer everybody free office space. And his answer was?
I just said straight up, are you wanting to use me in order to try to attract more people to this office complex?
Oh, that's right. I framed it wrong. You led with that.
Yeah, I led with it. I was like, the obvious question was, are you using me to attract more people to this office space? Are you planning on using my name and Smarter Every Day in order to get people here? And he said yes. Because
you're the kind of client that he wants to fill the place with.
Right.
And I, for one, think that's brilliant on his part. Is the president doing anything different here, or his media team?
But what does he get out of me?
You showing up, I think, communicates that they're seeking to continue to connect with people who are open-minded, even of possibly different perspectives. I think it's a branding move.
Okay, so do you think it's because I'm from Alabama and I'm of a particular demographic that usually is misaligned with his politics?
Do you mean white Southern gun owner?
That's what I mean.
There's a caricature, certainly, of your gun-toting, chaw-spitting Alabaman that, the caricature is that would be antithetical to progress. Yet you like progress. So yeah, I think it's a good way to even push back on some stereotypical assumptions.
I think I'm going to go. The reason I'm going to go is because it's a moment in history and I get to witness it. That's cool. The thing I want to preserve is I want to preserve the ability to seamlessly move back and forth between different groups that disagree. And so I would love to be able to do this and go to this last speech of President Obama, the farewell address in Chicago. And then how cool would it be to seamlessly do something similar on the Trump side or the Republican side?
It'd be awesome. It would be so cool to get to a place where we can do the root for people you don't agree with thing again.
Yeah, yes, that'd be awesome. People don't freak out and like start burning cars.
That was a bummer. I want to see that divide go away.
But don't you agree that that is the goal, is to be able to move back and forth between two different sides or two different viewpoints seamlessly without anybody accusing you of not believing what they believe? And you can just walk across that aisle, whatever it is, whether it be science versus faith or Republican versus Democrat, or the science versus faith thing. The Bill Nye debate versus Ken Ham was a dumpster fire train wreck apocalypse tornado.
Put them all together.
That was the worst. I mean, because you went in knowing that everybody was going to lose.
I didn't get through it. I couldn't watch it.
Yeah,
I couldn't finish the Mariah Carey New Year's Eve performance either. It was the same feeling in my heart watching both. I just had to turn them off. It was vicarious shame.
I've chosen not to watch that, so I don't
do it. It's like, you know, those moments in The Office where you feel so uncomfortable with the stuff that Steve Carell's character is doing that you almost can't finish.
Yep,
it's like that, except it happened.
Oh, ouch. Okay, I might have to go watch that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel good with this conversation. Do you feel good?
I do. It's fun.
Conversation one in the bag? What do you say?
You haven't had a chance to answer your question yet.
What was the question?
Do you think we're too much alike to do a podcast?
Oh, no, I don't. I think we can do a podcast.
I think we can do a podcast. Yeah. Plus, even when we do agree, like, we always end up picking at each other. Because we both have like the EN whatever there in the thing. And we're clearly determined animals based on those 4 letters. So we're going to fight.
That's true.
We got to give the people what they want. We got to fight and bicker like children.
That's right.
Okay, as long as you're still in. Good. I'm still in too then. We'll do a second one.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll do that. And we're also going to start a Twitter account and a subreddit. So check us out. The most important thing is that if you did enjoy this, please go to iTunes or wherever you get your podcast, and please subscribe to the podcast and maybe even leave a review. It's important on the first episode that we start strong. So the more subscriptions we get right off the bat, then maybe it'll get up in the rankings to the new podcast. And
the review and the rating, I think that's the ticket. Thank you for letting us grovel at you, everyone.
That's it. All right. I enjoyed it. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
Take it easy.